If there are two rules at Ultra Speaking, one is never break character, and the other is always end strong. It's such a fundamental habit of speaking, and most of us do the opposite. And let's talk about why it's important. So the first reason is this. They've done studies. You can search this concept called the peak end rule if you're interested, but it's also intuitive, right? People remember the end of experiences more than the beginning. I've been on so many dates with my wife where the date starts out awesome and I'm doing all the right things. And then at the very end, we get into an argument. Well, guess what we remember? We remember the argument at the end. On the contrary, we start with an argument, but if we're able to resolve it by the end, what's the feeling we're left with? Yeah, we squabbled, but it all worked out. For some reason, people tend to remember the end of experiences more than the beginning. It's how our brain is kind of programmed. And they even say, if you're going to go on vacation, the end of your vacation, the last day is usually the worst because it's all travel and you're rushing out of the hotel room trying to catch your flight. Can you be a little bit more strategic and plan your vacation so that it ends just as beautifully as it begins? So if people remember the end of experiences, then what's the problem? The problem is that the end is also where your prefrontal cortex starts to light up and you exit flow. They do this experiment where they put freestyle rappers into an MRI machine. And they say, hey, go freestyle rap in the MRI. And so they're like, I'm a freestyle rapper. I'm feeling real snappy. I got to do it because I keep the action. I'm about to go ahead and flow in a da-da-da-da. And they keep on going and going and going. And then finally, when it's time to wrap up and it's time to end the freestyle rap, something happens in the brain scan and they see all this activity up here in the prefrontal cortex. It was gone for the first 14 bars, but in the last 2 bars, it lights up. Why? Because now the rapper is becoming conscious of it's time to end and I need to wrap up and it needs to rhyme and it needs to make sense. And there's all these judgments and rules that come into the brain. And we see that the flow state is disappearing. And so we start to second guess ourselves. And that's terrible because everything was going great, but now this inner critic is lighting up. But what's important to recognize is that that's only happening for you. It's not happening for other people. The audience doesn't know that it's happening for you. We see this idea a lot in Ultra Speaking. What you feel isn't what people see. Imagine an artist creates a painting, goes to the gallery. It's the night of the big viewing, the entire, guest list arrives to the gallery. They're all looking at the painting. And imagine the artist goes and says, oh yeah, this isn't my best work. I don't know if this really captures what I meant to do. I'm so sorry. No, that's not the artist's job. What the artist might feel is all of that. This is not my best work. I didn't do a good job. I was rushed. What the artist might be surprised to hear, though, are people looking at it going, wow, that's their best work yet. Whoa, that was deep. You have no idea how people are going to interpret your art, and it could make no sense to you the whole time, and somebody else finds meaning in it. So it's not up to you to judge, especially not at the end. So that's why it's so crucial to stay in character at the end. And most people make the mistake to think that the end of a speech is when you say your last word. No. The end of your speaking is many, many seconds after you stop speaking. The most common mistake in ending strong is you put the finish line in the wrong place. You do 6 rounds of rapid fire analogies, you go, and as soon as you stop, you see your eye contact drop and suddenly there's like this fear in your eyes. No, you ended too early. You do 6 rounds of rapid fire, you stop and you hold the pose. Look at the camera, you portray confidence. Inside, you're freaking out, but you don't show it. So we put the finish line a little bit farther out ahead. We stop speaking and we hold the pose for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. And even though we're not saying anything, that silence we carry is a continuation of our staying in character. You can always land the plane on your terms. If speaking is like flying, you're the pilot. And if you notice that you're going in for that last sentence and the words get jumbled and you don't say the right thing, well, okay, come back up. Say another sentence. And and then try for the landing again, right? Carry that responsibility. You're not just going to crash land your plane. You do all that speaking just to crash it? No. You can always land on your terms. And as you'll notice throughout the course, ending strong isn't really about saying something brilliant or meaningful. It's really just about how you say it. If you think of a newscaster, how do they always end? They say, well, thanks for joining us. That's all for the 6 o'clock news. Good night, everyone. And it just kind of sounds like an ending. It sounds good. It sounds like, wow, you're telling me it's an ending. There's something the ear listens to, and we want to do the same thing. We want to signal to people the plane has landed. You're free to go. So there's no excuse. There's really no excuse not to end strong. The only excuse is that your inner world is a little bit chaotic, and it feels too uncomfortable to hold that chaos, so we want to kind of excuse ourselves. But there's no need. There's absolutely no need. And ending strong is a habit that you can do for every time you speak. That's rare, to have a technique you can use for every time you speak. But you'll notice that whether it's with your partner or with your kids or in class or at work, a general conversation, a presentation, every time you speak, as soon as you're done, you just end strong.